John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema Classics on NPR.
Cinema Classics is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to shows Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. And listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John
And
DeSando,
I'm Wayne Miller.
and this is Cinema
It
Classics.
sure is.
Now, our movie today, flat out now, is called The Alto Nights, okay?
Yep.
And you're wearing your appropriate mobster hat.
Yeah, well, you know, and it's not to be one of De Niro's characters, Vito Jimenez, and then I just flip it down, and I look like his other character in this movie, Frank Costello.
The treat of this film is to see Robert De Niro playing two different roles. And I think when the two of them go nose to nose, it's just a terrific piece of acting.
I think, I read, about 8 reviews over the weekend, just as preparation.
No.
And and they either really rave about the dual role, or they say it's too much of a gimmick,
Oh yeah,
and it's too distracting.
it is distracting.
Yes.
But that's why I'm there.
Oh, yeah.
But-
And of course, the other thing that they keep saying too is that when he's in the Vito persona,
Yes.
with the dark glasses, a little bit flashier, and with a little pork pie-like hat, fedora and stuff, that he's imitating his good buddy and frequent co-star Joe Pesci.
Yeah, hard not
Yeah.
to do in that role.
Yeah.
So I give De Niro credit. I would say, out of all of of our critics' reaction to it, that mostly it's not what I thought it would be. Most of them are just not patient with it,
Right.
and picking up on what you're describing with the difference between the two characters, they're finding fault in a way with Frank Costello being a guy who likes to sit around watching TV.
Yeah, with his wife in a long term. And you're right. Well, and I think the other thing that some critics were a little bit more negative in the review about this film, The Alto Nights, which comes I kept thinking, what's that really mean? Well, it's a social club they belong to as young men.
We're mid 20th century, about 1957.
Yeah. And so anyhow, they were more negative because they kept comparing. They said it could have been a much better film if Scorsese had directed it, as he had done a number of De Niro films.
I give our director Barry Levinson
Yes.
an awful lot of credit for tackling this.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with somebody who at one time was the biggest star in the world, certainly the biggest star ever playing gangster.
Oh,
I mean,
geez.
goodness. He out Cagney
Yes. Yeah.
in being a gangster. Or Robinson, was it?
Especially Edward G. Robinson.
Right, yeah.
Who really kind of more of the role of an Italian gangster, as opposed to Cagney, who was more of a Irish type of gangster.
He was
type
more
of
the
thing.
Vito type.
Exactly.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah. I'm on top of the world, Mom. Yeah. But they really, I thought De Niro did a good job. The two different personalities.
Yeah, I do too. And we're talking about history here.
Yes.
It sounds to me like they're pretty much covering what happened between these two former buddies who became bitter enemies.
And what I liked about this movie, John, is that it did not have, going into it, you're expecting a lot of violence, a lot of mobsters being rubbed out.
Yeah.
You don't get that much.
No.
And even when you think it's building up, two of the favorite scenes of mine in the movie is the Senate, the Senate subcommittee.
That's to Steve Offer.
Yes.
Going after him.
And that it's kind of funny comparing certain setups and scenes in this movie to Godfather 1, Godfather 2. Because Godfather 2 had a Senate subcommittee that brought in Michael Corleone, Pacino's character, but also that in Godfather 1, a meeting of the mobsters, all these mobsters, which in this one, Alto Nights, they had, and you're thinking, oh, is it going to turn, like a lot of shooting up and stuff? No, and it was, I found the humor in it, the wit of that scene very good.
And when you think about how smart Costello was, I mean, he was ostensibly getting all these mobsters from around the country to come to Appalachia, the Appalachian resort or whatever, the farm, and even his closest, his driver, so I couldn't understand why he kept delaying.
You kept delaying, yeah, and laughing about it. It's his party and he didn't show up. And he knew what was happening because he had tipped the feds off.
Right.
To raid the
So
place.
the way of getting rid of his competition,
Right.
by having the state police showing up
Uh-huh.
and seeing them run once they heard the state police were coming, because
Yeah.
one of the things, you're in real trouble if you have a heater with you.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah.
I agree with you. I will always remember that scene with those porky guys running back to their cars and all their big beautiful cars, and even getting stuck in the mud.
Right, and I wonder how, if Levinson was influenced for that scene, because there's a very similar scene in one of the episodes of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And that was
Were
very
there some Sopranos actors in this?
probably.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Rispoli, I think is his last name, was one of the people who's very, he's very familiar looking, because he's been in so many of those.
Yeah.
But, what I kind of liked about, they always talk about Scorsese, and we'll probably get more into Scorsese and mobster movies in the podcast.
Right, yeah, and I want to get into De Niro too as well. So we're in good shape for our podcast, which is Double Take. And you have to go to WCBE and the podcast experience to get to Double Take.
Right.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
And there's a little bit more I'm going to say about Levinson's two films too that are very good. To kind of build on some of the themes of this one, Alto Nights. But I did want to mention about, they always talk about De Niro playing mobsters for Scorsese. My two favorite mobsters he played weren't in Scorsese films, but when he did Godfather 2 and played Vito Corleone, I thought he was excellent. And you could see some of that kind of more reserved, laid-back character in his role of Frank Costello in this movie. And of course, that was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. But the other one, when he played Al Capone in The Untouchables, that Brian De Palma, played.
Good call,
and he, in that one, he was much more the Vito Genovese type of mobster. Flying off the handle, beating the guy to death at a meeting with a ball bat.
Well, before we sign off on this, first of all, I agree with you about that final scene with the state police converging on it. I think it's hilarious.
Yes.
And I think it's so well orchestrated.
Yes.
One of the other actresses here was Vito's wife.
Yes, who did an excellent job.
From The Sopranos.
Yes, and all the...
Catherine Narducci.
Yes, and she...
Boy.
And these reviews I read, they, of any of the actors and actresses in this, she's the one that they really pointed and done such a superb job.
Well, it's in your face, and contrasting with the Frank Costello character, she's just all over the place, and she and Vito are dynamite
my
together.
God! Yes, you talk about a relationship, full of fire.
Right, and actually a very fine performance by Debbie Messing.
Exactly.
As Costello's wife.
And she's as far as a recognizable performer, besides De Niro, she's the one that would probably bring people in because of all of her roles in TV series, particularly like Will and Grace, I believe it was, but that she was a roommate, with a gay guy. And it was a really good comedy that ran for years, but she's been in a lot of things. She does a superb job, I think.
Well, don't let the box office disappointment this last weekend. You got a really strange combination going on. Snow White apparently is doing well, and none of the buzz was good for that before it hit the theaters.
Yes.
And this one is not doing as well as everybody thought.
Yeah, well, and this one didn't seem to have like the controversy that Snow White has brought to it. The young lady who I just watched her, I got from the library, just talking briefly about the Snow, actress plays Snow White, and she played Maria in Spielberg's West Side Story, and just a pretty.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, Wayne Miller, the film is The Alto Nights, and the film is Robert De Niro.
Yes.
There's no question about it. If you don't like De Niro, if you're a Trumpite and you hate De Niro, then just don't go. You will be so upset at how good he is.
But like us, we really like him, and so that's why I would recommend the movie. And it's not, if you're expecting to go in and see something kind of like The Godfather, you may be a bit disappointed. Because there isn't the gravitas that you would find in the Godfather trilogy.
And I think the best description of De Niro playing these roles is there's a menace behind his eyes.
Yes.
There's a way in which he reserves himself so that he's smoldering inside but outside. He just, and especially as Frank Costello, he appears so cool, but he's enormously dangerous.
Yes.
And that's what we love about gangster films.
Well, and basically, in a way, a lot like his character he played in those Ben Stiller movies, Meet the Parents.
Yes.
I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with